Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. And if you have subscribed, thanks. Today, I wanted to talk about an initial consultation with a divorce lawyer. If you've been Googling or you've been searching around about a divorce because you feel like a divorce might be on the horizon, you might be ready to schedule your initial consultation with a divorce lawyer, which is a big step. I was recently told that my initial consultations are different than most divorce lawyers, and I don't want to gatekeep. So I thought I would talk to you guys a little bit about what happens in a divorce consultation and what to expect, at least in my consultation. The purpose of a divorce consultation, your initial divorce consultation, is to be educated, because you don't know what you don't know. And also, your neighbor who got their law degree from Google also doesn't know. During my initial consultations, this is what I do. My first step is I take background information. Then I explain P.E.A.C.E, P-E-A.C.E. In the state of Florida, the best way to get through a divorce consultation is to use this acronym. The P stands for parenting, the E stands for equitable distribution, the A stands for alimony, the C is child support, and the E is everything else. Kind of how do we wrap it up in a nice little bow. During my initial consultation, after I take basic information, I go through each letter of P.E.A.C.E. and I explain what the law in Florida is, how it's applied. I don't even ask anybody any financial questions at this point. After I explain P.E.A.C.E. and after I explain why the information on financials is important, then I start taking financial information from people. I think this is what makes my consultations different. I've never done a divorce consultation with another lawyer, but this is what I assume. I think most divorce lawyers instantly ask about financial information. And when you've never met with somebody before, maybe you're even talking to them on the phone, giving them information about your finances is a little bit scary. And you don't really know why they're asking, and you may not feel comfortable sharing all of that information. So I think what makes me different is I educate first, and then I start asking questions about the finances. And look, the reason I'm asking the questions about the finances is so I can make the consultation worthwhile. I can use your facts and apply them to the law. Now, I'm not gonna be able to explain exactly what's gonna happen in your divorce in a consultation, but I at least can give you some ideas of what your divorce may look like. After I go through the specifics of applying your facts to the law, then I explain the process. Literally, how does it work? What gets filed? How long do we have? All of those things. And then at the end of my consultation, I leave room for questions. And honestly, there's usually not that many questions in an initial consultation, unless people have specific questions about their case. And believe it or not, this all gets done within a 30-minute window. So you may ask, what should I bring to an initial consultation? And the answer is nothing. Maybe some Kleenex, but I get that also. There's really nothing you need to physically bring to your initial consultation. What you need to know going into your initial consultation is more important. Those are things like your income, your spouse's income, the assets of the marriage. Doesn't matter whose name the asset is in, just the assets of the marriage, the liabilities of the marriage. Have taxes been filed? Are there any other debts that are owed? Maybe IRS debt. If there's a small business, is there a liability there? If you can get the information on finances before your consultation, that will help you get a better consultation. If you can. And obviously, sometimes when you're about to go through a divorce, if you're starting to sniff and ask questions about finances, it may raise red flags for your partner or your spouse. So you may not want to ask these questions, but if you can get this information before your consultation, it may be helpful. If you can't get it, it's still worthwhile to get the consultation and to have the consultation, because again, the goal of the consultation is to be educated. Even if you're not planning on hiring an attorney, I always recommend doing a consultation and maybe do a couple of consultations. Your initial consultation with an attorney might just be information gathering. You're just obtaining information about what your divorce may look like. You may need to have a second or a third consultation before you're ready to actually hire a lawyer. And if you're not planning on hiring a lawyer, you can at least get some tips and tricks about your case. I don't necessarily recommend consulting with a bunch of attorneys just to weed them out. I recommend consulting with a bunch of attorneys because you kind of have to like your lawyer. You have to vibe with them a little bit. I'm not saying your lawyer needs to be your best friend, but you're gonna be sharing a lot of personal information with your lawyer, and you're gonna need to feel comfortable sharing with them, even the dirties of your case. Now, consulting with a bunch of lawyers does weed those lawyers out. So if you consult with me, I can't then consult with your soon-to-be ex. One lawyer can only talk to one party of the marriage. Otherwise, it's a conflict. Most initial consultations and consultations with attorneys do cost money, but don't be afraid to pay for a consultation. I think this is dependent upon where you live location-wise, but a lot of attorneys advertise for a free consultation. And it sounds really nice to be able to talk to a lawyer for free. But I've heard that a lot of those consultations are basically the lawyer taking information from you, listening to your story about your case, and saying things like, yeah, we can definitely help you. It doesn't educate you. So oftentimes when you have to pay for your consultation, you're actually getting legal advice from a lawyer. So don't be afraid to pay for a consultation. If you're ready to schedule a consultation with me, there's a link to my calendar down below. As you're looking through my videos, please watch the other videos. You're probably gonna get a lot more information about your divorce case, and you can come into the consultation information gathering already. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it. Hopefully you've subscribed already. If not, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.